Step into a journey where every step is packed with purpose, insight, and empowerment. This is Walk with Wisdom with your host, Genevieve Wisdom. Walk with Wisdom is a dynamic podcast series designed for men and women 40 and over who are ready to embrace their best years yet. Life at this stage isn't about slowing down. It's about leveling up. Each episode is a walkthrough guide to mastering life's transitions, rediscovering passions, and thriving physically, mentally, and emotionally. We bring you expert advice, real life stories, and actionable strategies to help you stride confidently into a future of vitality and fulfillment. So now, please welcome the host of Walk with Wisdom, Genevieve Wisdom.
Hello, everyone. I'm Genevieve Wisdom, host of Walk with Wisdom, your lifestyle show on youthful aging, which is looking good and feeling amazing as you age. Thank you again, everyone, for coming on with us. We have an amazing guest again this week. It's the great Mr. Bruce Pollock. I'll do a reintroduction shortly, but we're going to jump right into the show. I had so many great comments about menopause, and what it really means. So we're going to jump right in because we appreciate your time. One thing, don't forget to share the link because remember, this is a podcast, it's on YouTube, it's all over the place where you can get all the podcasts like Spotify, Apple, etc. So thank you again, and here we go. Bruce, listen to where we're going this week. Menopause. What's really happening to your body? Menopause, which is often overlooked, and it's the male equivalent, which is called andropause, marks significant hormonal shifts that impact everything from energy levels to digestion, mood, and joint health in men and women. Menopause specifically occurs when estrogen and progesterone decline in women, and it brings on those symptoms, the ones we hate, like hot flashes and night sweats, mood swings, anxiety, sleep disturbances, weight gain, bloating, yeah, joint pain, muscle loss, digestive issues like IBS, constipation, and diarrhea. Yuck, but I know us girls, we know. Menopause, and Bruce won't probably agree to what he knows with the men on these. Menopause, which is andropause, affects men as testosterone levels drop, leading to fatigue and low motivation, decreased muscle mass and strength, increased belly fat, poor sleep and irritability, lower libido and performance issues, joint pain, and slow recovery. But here's the thing, many of these symptoms aren't just about hormonal changes, it's your gut health, inflammation, and stress levels that play a major role. And we want to thank Bruce for this because Bruce gave us the foundational steps that we need to take for healing these symptoms. And I thought this week, with him agreeing to come back, we'd tie it in. Now let's meet Bruce. Hi Bruce. I am looking for you. There you are, looking handsome and young as ever as you youthful age. Let me reintroduce you to the audience. I know what you're thinking. So meet Bruce Pollock, the health translator extraordinaire. That's my little caveat for Bruce, but he's phenomenal because of what he knows and how he delineates his knowledge. So on this episode, Bruce, a seasoned homeopath, a businessman, and a natural health expert with decades of experience in the wellness space. Bruce has a gift for making the complicated simple, breaking down the science of health into easy, actionable steps. Like myself, he's passionate about helping people taking control of their well being. He's here to share insights, wisdom, and practical tips for living healthier, more balanced life. Get ready for a conversation that will inspire, educate, and motivate you to youthfully age. Thank you, Bruce, for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here, Genevieve.
Thank you so much. And Bruce, we started off last week. You set an incredible foundation for um really dealing with this stage of life that we all go through if we get there, you know what I mean? And so many people actually reached out and were really surprised that the gut health is where you actually start. So thank you for that because I talk about foundations here in the podcast. Everyone knows that we start with the foundation and then we stack things because we want to get better, faster, sooner. So thank you, Bruce, for giving us that foundation. We're going to just jump right into the questions if I may. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Let's start.
Perfect. And so really we're tying in everything we talked about last week into the context now of menopause. So, could your gut be making menopause worse?
Oh,
Which are the
absolutely,
symptoms I talked about?
absolutely. Um, without a healthy gut, you're just not making everything you need to make, as we talked about the neurotransmitters and that sort of thing. But it may be easier if we have a picture to look at. And so I brought a couple of slides, and maybe we'll go straight into them. And the slides start the reverse. It starts the hormonal cascade and goes to the gut. But it all is interconnected, as we talked about last week. So why don't we turn on slide number 1 and take a look at it first and go from there. Here we go. It's a simple slide. So cholesterol is the top of the hormone cascade, and then everything turns to pregnenolone. And then, as you can see to the left, it goes progesterone and then down to aldosterone. This is the part that we have problems with when cortisol comes up. We'll discuss that later. But right below the pregnenolone is the DHEA, testosterone, and estrogen. So this is a view of a healthy hormonal system. This is the perfect cascade. Now, if we go to slide number 2, you can see here, now that we've got the cortisol in the picture, now we're in stress situation, we're in fight and flight mode, and it's becoming a chronic situation. So you can see the pregnenolone is feeding the progesterone, which is feeding the cortisol. And over on the left-hand side, you notice the aldosterone is not being fed anymore. And down below, the DHEA is not being fed as well either. So here's the beginning of the problem. And if we move to the next slide, and this will be the final slide, down here we have the cortisone, and then below that we have leaky gut on one side and insulin resistance on the other side, which we didn't talk about last week. But insulin resistance is also another thing that comes with cortisol, and that's another reason we get that belly fat and with the weight gain. But the aldosterone, it controls the sodium potassium regulation in the body through the kidneys. And once it stops being fed, we fill up with sodium and we start putting on water weight. And you hear that all the time. Oh, I'm putting on this water weight and I don't know why. Well, this is the reason why, is because the aldosterone is not being fed properly from the progesterone, because again, everything is going into the fight flight mode. And so if everything's going progesterone to cortisol, and then the side effects is the leaky gut, the insulin resistance, and the weight gain. And then on the other side, below the pregnenolone, we have the DHA not being fed, so the testosterone is not being fed. And that's your sex drive, and in women as well, by the way. And
Yeah.
then below the estrogen, you have low estrogen, but you're still estrogen dominant because you don't have the progesterone to balance with it. So you have low estrogen, low testosterone, yet you have estrogen dominance and low progesterone. And this is where everything starts causing major problems. And so, as I say, down at the bottom's a leaky gut, but you can start with a leaky gut and go the other way as well. And the same cascade happens. It doesn't matter which direction, whether you start with the hormones and stress or you start with leaky gut. This is the picture, and this is what we want to avoid.
Wow. Thank you, Bruce. And I'm sure everyone, by the way, everyone, thank you for your comments. Continue to make your comments and share the link because this is great information. I love how you gave us the picture. So now we have the overall picture as how hormones are tied into leaky gut and cortisol, which we hear so much about, how it's tied into stress and how it affects all the symptoms that normally people start treating, but not really knowing how it works. By the way, I just want to add a caveat here, everyone, that we're just here talking. It's a lifestyle show. So, of course, um, talk to your healthcare practitioner, your primary care practitioner. Um, but here, we're just people talking about the things that may be a little bit complicated. And Bruce, the great man at taking the complicated, making it simple, is here to help us through menopause. Menopause. Next question: leaky gut. Um, the hidden reason behind your hot flashes, joint pain, and mood swings. Did I hear that right?
I'm so sorry. We're just having a small earthquake here. The house is shaking. So you'll just, I missed the question.
Wow, we are in the
Can you,
earthquake zone. Is everybody okay?
yeah, yeah, can you rephrase the question for me again? So sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was wondering what the hidden reason behind hot flashes, joint pain, and mood swings are. And I thought one of the reasons you mentioned talking about gut is leaky gut. Could that be the real reason behind that?
Oh, absolutely. So if you have leaky gut, it causes high inflammation. High inflammation causes cortisol. Cortisol, cortisol. Everything goes from progesterone to cortisol. So now you have a low progesterone because your body's in flight mode. Again, the pregnenolone in our diagram earlier was feeding the progesterone, not the DHEA, and down to the estrogen and the testosterone. And with low estrogen, you get the hot flashes. With low progesterone, you get the bad sleep. So right there, you've got the problems, and then with the inflammation, you start getting joint pain with the inflammation that comes with the leaky gut. So it's all interconnected again, and directly connected.
Of course, of course. And Bruce, I have to acknowledge, just, if everyone's out there going, oh, they just kind of went right over that. Seems like everything is okay. Bruce would let us know. So thank you, everyone, for staying with us here. And remember, one thing that I love about our podcast or Walk with Wisdom is if you're looking for a perfect podcast, you've come to a place where we're just living life. Things happen and we roll with it, baby. So thank you, Bruce, for rolling with that. Thank you for that explanation. Now, with the leaky gut, is there a simple fix for leaky gut that also helps the hormonal balance?
Absolutely. If you can fix the leaky gut, you're on your way to fixing the hormonal balance. But there is a simple way. It's really a three-step process. Start with a glutamine, and it's a powder you buy in a big tin. And if you do a scoop of glutamine first thing in the morning, and you wait 20 minutes before you eat anything, this will really help bring your cells together, plus the mucosal layer of the cells. So you're building the really the base of the gut with that. And then there's a
Right.
product called glycerated licorice, and it's a chewable product. And what it does is it puts down a mucal layer that is supposed to be there, but we wear off, and we wear it off by eating foods that aren't appropriate, by drinking drinks that aren't appropriate, and basically stress in life in general. So it replaces that. So you've got the cells coming together now, you've got the mucosal layer now, and then in the evening, take a really good quality probiotic so you can start rebuilding that microbiome. And I've seen within a week, I've seen major differences in IBS symptoms. I've even seen differences in Crohn's symptoms. Now, Crohn's, you don't heal this way, but you can help the symptomology with it. IBS, you can clear it up, assuming you've changed your diet that's causing the problem, right? Because if you're still eating the highly prefabricated foods and that sort of thing, you're going to have to do this the rest of your life. But if you're eating a healthy diet, this will certainly heal your gut. You can do this for 6 weeks, a couple of months, and you'd be amazed at the difference for the next couple of years.
Wow. That is awesome, Bruce. And everyone, I know this is a lot of information. You can reach Bruce directly through his email, which is Bruce underscore Pollack, Pollack. There it is at yahoo.ca. Phenomenal. And also, myself as well. I'm a life coach. I help to interject life where all these things happen. So you can also reach me as well. We'll continue to talk about that. Bruce, now you're talking about fixing the gut and the microbiome. Bruce, and I know everyone out there, microbiome is like one of those words that's buzz, buzz, buzz. Can you quickly go over again what the microbiome means? What's a healthy microbiome? And then that will lead into our next question about probiotics.
All right. So the microbiome literally means you've got trillions of microbes in your digestion tract. You've got good ones, you've got bad ones, you've got neutral ones. To have a good microbiome, you need healthy microbes. And these are, we catchphrase them as probiotics, but they're the ones that build the walls between the gut lining and the pathogens that are trying to get through the bloodstream to do us harm. They also create short chain fatty acids by eating fiber, which lays down the mucosal immune system, which again is part of our immune system. And I've said last week that our immune system is made up of 80% of our microbiome. So if you have a healthy microbiome, not only does the acid kill viruses and things, but so does the microbiome itself if it's healthy. And also, if it can't kill it, it builds up layers between the gut lining and the pathogen that's trying to get through the bloodstream. So this is in basic terms. And if you have a bad microbiome, now you've got more bad things than good things. And now you've got things going into the bloodstream that just shouldn't be there. The pathogens, the viruses, the
Right.
unbroken down food, all this sort of thing is getting into the gut because you have nothing to stop it. You don't have that layer of a positive biome to stop the viruses and pathogens to get through.
That's one of the best explanations of microbiome that I've heard. I don't know about you all. I appreciate your comments on that, and it's saying yes to a lot of people because it does get complicated. And this is Bruce, like me, we love to take the complicated and make it simple. So, how does that tie into probiotics? So, my specific question is, do cheap probiotics help the microbiome? And in turn, does that help the menopausal and menopausal symptoms? So it's a two-part question.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I
It's a
mean by cheap
difficult,
probiotics.
yeah. Um, the There are a lot of probiotics out there that are not well studied, so
Yeah.
we honestly don't know what they're doing. And this this um, this means that potentially they don't do any good. You need well studied probiotics. The next thing is they say, oh, you need enteric coated probiotics. Well, the problem with an enteric coated probiotic is it breaks down 6, 8, 10 feet into the small intestine, but it's the first 2 feet that you need the floral to make these hormones and the neurotransmitters we've been talking about. So if you have an
Right.
enteric coated probiotic, it's breaking down past the place where you really need the floral. So mostly I say make sure they're really well studied and there's documented studies and published studies and third party published studies. There's one group I was working with and they actually give theirs to universities and they say, no matter what you find, publish it. So if it's good, if it's bad, it's ugly, publish it. We don't care. We want to know the truth about our probiotics. There's other ones that say, oh, this strain has been studied, but it was actually someone else's and the strain was the same, but the actual type of probiotic was the same, but the strain was different. It's, for example, there's dogs, and if you've got a dog sled, you don't want a bunch of chihuahuas pulling it, but they're dogs. So you can say lactobacillus.
Okay.
The studies say it does this, but it was lactobacillus something something something, and so this other lactobacillus probably will do nothing for you. So you're looking for well-studied probiotics. And if you get a well-studied probiotic, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for it because you're paying for these studies. And as you know, probiotics don't have big drug companies behind them that have millions and millions of dollars. But there are well-studied probiotics. Just if you're looking at a study, make sure the strain they're talking about is the strain you're buying, because there's many people who use other people's studies that don't really agree with the strain they're actually selling you. So back to the question. It, an inexpensive probiotic, I haven't seen good studies on. That doesn't mean they're not there. Just make sure you're looking at a well-studied probiotic before you buy it. And if you go to some place where some reputable vitamin store or pharmacy where they know what they're talking about, they can show you these things. They're available.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bruce. And the reason why I brought that up is with respect to microbiome, probiotics help to give you that good balance in the microbiome, and that will help relieve the symptoms of menopause and menopause. Correct?
Which also absolutely, because if you're taking the right probiotics and they're flowing your gut, they're adding to that microbiome, then you're adding to that defensive mechanism to stop everything going through to your bloodstream. So you're going to keep down the inflammation, which will keep down the cortisol, which will keep up the progesterone, which will keep right. So again, it's
Right.
that whole cascade. So absolutely. Now people also kind of worry about how much probiotics. Like they say, oh, 50 billion. That's way too strong a probiotic. But if you think about it, they say there's about 6 pounds of microbiome. 6 pounds of these microbes make up our microbiome.
That's a
50
lot,
billion.
Bruce.
50 billion is a little capsule, right? So
Exactly.
the only
Exactly.
problem with some probiotics, if you get bloated and gassy, it's just because they're killing the bad microbes, and the bad microbes are dying off, and they're creating gas and stuff. And this is why you would get gas. You might get a little bloating, you might get a little pain for short term. If that does happen, pick up some DGL, which we talked about earlier, diglycerides licorice, and just eat it, and that'll help soothe all that away while you're killing off the bad things. But you actually want that killing off to happen because you don't want those bad microbes there to begin with.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Bruce, incredible. And everyone, thank you for listening intently and making the comments. And again, Bruce, you can reach him at Bruce underscore Pollock at yahoo.ca. He's available for counseling and consulting on the things that we've talked about. And myself also, wisdom at walkwithwisdom.ca. That's the best email, wisdom at walkwithwisdom.ca. We're going to go into the next section. And remember, everyone, we started this last week. Now we're putting it all together. And Bruce is now going to talk about stress, sleep, and hormones. So, feeling more anxious and stressed than ever? Here's why. Take it away, Bruce.
Okay, so if we go back to that diagram we had, and we are talking about the cortisol, that's your stress chemical, and high cortisol will cause anxiety. Thank you. Will cause anxiety, and it'll also cause you to wake up in the middle of the night. Oftentimes, people will say, "I wake up at 2 o'clock every single night." This is cortisol. It's coming into your system. Cortisol is supposed to come into your system first thing in the morning when the sun comes up. And if it's coming into your system in the middle of the night, it's because your adrenals are out of whack and they're putting into the cortisol when it's not supposed to be there. But high cortisol, as I say, it causes anxiety and it causes sleeplessness. So that's high cortisol. But when you get to the stage where your body's actually not producing enough cortisol, again, you have problems. This time, instead of waking up, and a high cortisol person will wake up in the morning, they'll feel really good and they'll have lots of energy because their body will be full of cortisol. But about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock the afternoon, they crash because they've
This
run
is it.
out. If you have low cortisol, then every morning is Monday morning. And those people, when you say to them, when you wake up in the morning, is it like Monday morning every day? And they say, oh, yes. You have to drag your butt out of bed every morning. Oh, yes. This is low cortisol. And it's the same issue. It's just further down the hormonal line. You've done your adrenals under now. Now they're not producing enough cortisol. So now you really need to peak your cortisol, pick your adrenals up so that they get back up to working order. So there's two symptoms of the same problem.
Right. Wow. But Bruce, thank you again. You broke it down for us, took the complicated and made it simple. And I like to say, you're tired but wired. That's very, very common with menopause and menopause, and that has to do with cortisol. Um, the next question: should you fix your gut then before taking hormones or trying to fix your hormones?
That's a very good question. Now, if we're talking about going to a doctor and the doctor gives you gives you hormones to take them, fix your gut while you're doing it, because you're obviously in need or they wouldn't be giving it to you. If you're trying to
Right.
fix them alone, well, fixing your gut is part of fixing your hormones. So I always suggest, because I like to know what we're giving the client is working. So I like to say, what is worse? Is your digestion worse or is your sleep and anxiety worse? And based on that, for the first month, we'll work on the first one till it's under control. Then we'll work on the next one while still dealing with the first one. Because if you start taking a bunch of things, a bunch of supplements, you never quite know what's working. You never know what you're supposed to be feeling. But for example, if we're working on your adrenals, we expect your sleep to get better, we expect your anxiety to go down, and we expect your stress levels to go down. That's an expectation. If we're working on your gut, we expect digestion to get better, we expect your bowel movements to get better, and we expect inflammation to go down. Those are expectations. But once we're getting one where you're noticing the difference, then I like to move on to the next one. I don't like to do them both at once because it's just way too much stuff to take, and people get a little frustrated, and they've been taking a bunch of things for 5 days. They're not feeling anything because you remember these problems are taking you years to get to. So
Yes.
it's going to take time to fix. It's not going to take 5 days. And if you have to take a cupful or a bowl full of supplements every day and you're not feeling any difference, then you're really going to get not excited about taking them. So I really do think that you need to heal your gut to get your hormones under control. Do you need to do it right away? Not necessarily, but you have to do it. Within a
Mhm.
month or 2 months of starting to heal your hormones or getting your hormones in alignment, you have to worry about your gut. And if you worry about your gut, within a month or two of getting your gut in alignment, you have to worry about your adrenals and your hormones because again, they're all connected.
Fantastic. And Bruce, everyone who's getting to know me know that I like to talk about wise people that I've met in my life. You are one of the wisest. I've been very, very blessed to have crossed many wise people. And one of my teachers actually was a pharmacist who believed in integrative medicine. And he said, if you fix your nose, you heal your toes. And that's what Bruce is talking about, everyone, is how everything is interconnected. Now, you mentioned the adrenals. Um, could you just, because everyone, with Bruce's wisdom, wink, wink, one of the things that I want him to really help to take the complicated and make it simple is all the buzzwords we've heard out there about menopause symptoms, and so on. So we've heard a lot about adrenals, adrenal fatigue, all of that. How does that tie into the hormonal cascade you talked about and fixing the menopausal symptoms?
Well, I really believe that the adrenals are at the root of most of the hormonal problems. Not going into menopause, but the imbalanced hormonal problems. I believe the adrenals are a lot at the root. I mean, as we age and we go into menopause, our progesterone drops, and that nothing to do with adrenals. That just is reality. And we can do things to keep the progesterone up for sure. But the adrenals, when they get stressed, they kick off, or when you get stressed, they kick off the cortisol, which we talked about. Well, that
Yes.
progesterone feeds the cortisol. So as long as you have high cortisol, you're going to have low progesterone. If you have low progesterone, you're not going to have that calming of your mind because that's what progesterone does. If you don't have the calming of the mind, you're sending the fight flight messaging to the adrenals, so you can have more cortisol. And again, if your pregnenolone, back to that slide we had, if your pregnenolone is just feeding the progesterone to feed the cortisol because it believes you're running for your life, you're not feeding the DHEA, which isn't feeding the testosterone or the estrogen or the thyroid. So it's all interconnected, and your adrenals really have to be healthy to go through healthy menopause comfortably.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bruce, for taking that complicated explanation and making it simple. Now, the next area, everyone, when Bruce came and talked about foundational things, the next area that really came up was the gut relationship to inflammation, joint pain, and aging, which is menopause. And by the way, Bruce, you said something very important, um, which is things happen with life as we age, but we can start. earlier to take care of the adrenals, take care of this hormonal cascade with a lot of the things that you've talked about, like keeping our gut healthy, so we don't go through those issues as hard, as strong, as brutal. That's probably my word, as we do. So thank you for that. Now, inflammation, joint pain, and aging. Why, pardon me, do your joints hurt more as you age?
Generally, because our inflammation is going up in the body, and when inflammation goes up, it affects the joints, and that can be for several reasons. But again, leaky gut's the primary one. You have leaky
Okay.
gut, inflammation goes way up in your body, and your joints hurt. I talked about one of my clients last week who came
Right.
in. She had sore wrists, sore hips, sore knees, sore elbows, and just doing a quick gut process, which is what I talked about earlier with the DGL and the probiotic and the glutamine. That's all I did for 1 month, and all her joint pains went away. So you
Right.
can stop the inflammation, no problem. But there's some other supplements that maybe we should touch on that are very useful. And I'd like to bring up magnesium as a very first
Yes.
one. We all hear
Yes.
about magnesium. You should take magnesium, but why should you take magnesium? Well, magnesium, for one, it helps relax the body. So if you're getting knots and you're waking up with your pains in your muscles and they're all knotting up, you have to get out and stretch them, that kind of thing.
Right.
Magnesium really helps with that, but it also helps with minor anxiety. It also helps with high blood pressure, and it also has 148 other purposes in the body. And
Right.
generally, it's one of those minerals we're very low on. Now, there's several types of magnesium. Magnesium citrate is very popular. Magnesium glycinate, you've heard of. Um, if you're going to take magnesium, it's better to take the magnesium that absorbs the best. And magnesium glycinate absorbs far better than citrate, because what happens with citrate as it goes through the acid bath of your gut, it separates the magnesium from the citrate. And there's very few receptors for magnesium in the lower digestion tract. So it ends up going to the colon, which helps you go to the washroom, which is great, but we need to absorb that magnesium as well. Magnesium glycinate doesn't separate. Now, this is simplified. There's a whole science behind this, of course. But
Of course.
magnesium glycinate doesn't separate in the gut, and there's thousands of receptors for glycinate. So as the glycinate gets absorbed into the bloodstream, it takes magnesium with it. So you get this high absorption of magnesium. And if you're using it to go to the washroom for bowel movements, keep increasing magnesium glycinate, because if it's not helping you the first night, it's because your body is so low on magnesium. So you increase it and you increase it and you increase it till you get the bowel movement, and then generally cut it back one dose is what you do. And once you hit that point, generally that will be the amount of magnesium you need to take every day for the rest of your life. It doesn't change unless you get sick or ill or something. But once you're at that point where you're going to the washroom every day, which we need to do, by the way, and we'll pause and
Yes.
talk about that for a moment. If you're not going to the washroom every day, the feces build up in your colon, and the toxins actually go through the colon into the bloodstream. And this can cause headaches, this can cause migraines, it can cause all sorts of things, skin issues as well. So we need to be removing these toxins every day out of our body. And magnesium is a great way to do it. We just need to take enough. That what magnesium does is when it gets in the colon, it actually absorbs moisture, and so it brings moisture into the colon, which naturally softens the stool so you can get it out of your body. So that's one product that pretty much everybody could be on without any problems at all, magnesium glycinate. And then to help stop the messaging and to help calm the brain, theanine is another good product. And L-theanine is actually naturally found in matcha green tea. And this is why people can drink matcha green tea and not get their brain wired like coffee does. It still has caffeine. Don't fool yourself. You shouldn't be drinking it before bed. But it doesn't wire the brain because the theanine keeps your brain calm. And so I watched this brilliant woman doctor. She was just a brilliant woman, and she said that everybody should be taking 200 milligrams of theanine in the morning at night, just because life is so stressful. Now, I'm
Right.
not recommending that. I'm saying this is what she said,
Yes.
and because life is so stressful. Are you still there?
Yes. You cut out for a
Oh, good.
small,
Sorry.
short moment.
Yeah, life is so stressful that
Yes.
we could use the theanine. So, and it just helps again to stop the fight flight messagings to the brain. It helps calm you down so you sleep better. It's not a sleep pill, it's not a calm pill, but it just helps. This is the natural thing that theanine does. So, magnesium and theanine are two easy things that you can take, which don't have huge side effects and are very, very helpful to the body.
Fantastic, Bruce. My goodness, everyone. I know that I learned something about the differences in magnesium, definitely about theanine. And I know, again, we've all heard about supplementation. Um, but what is really happening? How is it working? And is less is more, as Bruce mentioned in some cases, so that we know what's working? And so, thank you, Bruce, again for taking that complicated topic on just magnesium and theanine alone and making it simple. Now, I will ask one more question, and then we're just going to do a wrap up on everything we've talked about, just so that everyone kind of puts everything that you talked about together today, because it was a wealth of information. Um, so we're again talking about everything in the context of menopause to everyone. You talked about magnesium. Does magnesium help muscle cramps, headaches, anxiety, and is the deficiency, because I think you mentioned that we're all deficient on magnesium specifically. Could that be the reason why, with the hormonal changes, we get muscle cramps, headaches, anxiety?
It's definitely part of it. Muscle cramps specifically, you can pretty much align with lack of magnesium. Headaches, depending the type of headache, because the muscles behind your neck and up through your head, we have muscles going straight up our neck into our skull and around our skull. If they get really tight, you'll get a headache. Magnesium helps to keep them relaxed. So definitely, it can help with headaches. Will it be the cure? Not necessarily. Will it help with headaches? Absolutely. And help with sleep because it is a muscle relaxant. If you take enough of it in the appropriate amounts of it, I should say, if you take the appropriate amounts of it, it will help your muscles relax. So at least your body is relaxed when you go to bed. We can't say that it'll help you sleep, but it'll help your muscles relax so you can sleep better, is the way I would phrase it. And there,
Fantastic.
again, if you're low in progesterone, your brain is not going to slow down. So no matter how relaxed your body is, right? And it does help with minor anxiety. Again, not major anxiety. You're not Magnesium's not going to help an anxiety attack. But if you have minor anxiety, it will certainly help with that.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Bruce. It has been a wealth of information how you tied in the hormonal cascade, starting with foundational things like the gut, stress, cortisol. Now, everyone, I know this was a lot of information, but great information. And really, thank you again for your comments, Bruce, which is how you lay it all out. It's a big topic, no doubt. And how you lay it all out, it's just made it a little bit more palatable having just us extraordinary people get together and talk. Now, Bruce, is there a wrap up that you can do with all of this from your end, as far as menopause, gut health, magnesium, L-theanine? Is there a wrap up you can do?
Yes, I'd like to. I'm just sorry. I'm looking for the right words.
Of
You've got to
course.
look at things as a whole. Our body is a whole unit. It's not separate pieces. And in order to look at it as a whole, you have to look at the root issues. You can't look at just the symptoms and try to deal with the symptoms. You've got to deal with the actual problem. And the problems always lie within hormonal balance, stress, gut, and moving the toxins out of your body, which is liver and colon. And in order to do all that, you've got to approach it on a whole level basis. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with taking hormones that the naturopath or a doctor is giving you.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
But don't stop there. Think about your adrenals because progesterone and thyroid products help progesterone and thyroid. They don't help your adrenals. You've got to think about your gut because they don't help the gut either. What they do, though, is stop sending the fight flight messages to your adrenals, which gives you time to heal them and gives you time to heal your gut. So I'm all in favor of all these different modalities or ways of approaching it. Just don't stop with one. Think about it as a whole picture, and think about the inflammation as well as part of that picture because of the gut. And but menopause itself is low hormones, so you need to deal with your hormones and keep them at a healthy level. But you have to deal with all the side effects that affect those hormones. And this is where you get into, as I said, the cortisol, the gut, the brain, the inflammation, digestion. All of these things affect it. So you can't just stop by doing, well, I'm just going to take some progesterone and I'll feel better. You will feel better, but you haven't solved the problem. All you've done is upped your progesterone. So think about the body as a whole. And it's just so important that your body will not function unless all of it's working well together.
Absolutely. Bruce, that was phenomenal. And everyone, that's where Bruce and I come in. A lot of information. If you want to reach Bruce directly, his email is Bruce underscore Pollock at yahoo.ca. Bruce underscore Pollock, P-O-L-A-C-K. You can see it there on the screen at yahoo.ca. And I am just going to do a last minute wrap up. Bruce, thank you so much. Don't go away just yet. So, basically, the wisdom tips for today, based on the amazing Bruce Pollock, is menopause and menopause. It's more than just dropping hormone levels. We go through gut health issues and stress and inflammation, and that's at the root of many of the symptoms. But the good news is that through gut repair, quality nutrition and stress management, and some of the supplementation that Bruce has mentioned, we can help to feel energized and phenomenal. And really, once we're in the stage of menopause and menopause, traverse that much easier. Bruce was an amazing wealth of information. And thank you all so much for your comments. Please, if you have any specific questions, because that's how we come in, you go to your primary care practitioner, you get the hormones and the supplements, and then you take it home and off, and you're going, now what? Email Bruce, Bruce underscore Pollock at yahoo.ca, or myself, wisdom at walkwithwisdom.ca. And next week, because remember, I like foundations and stacking, we're going to continue on on the theme of menopause, but now we're going to talk about nutraceuticals. So I'll have a nutraceutical expert that's going to tie in everything that Bruce started with. We know it inside out, and we're going to take it to the next level. Thank you all for joining. Send me an email, send Bruce an email. And until then, think about your gut health. Genevieve Wisdom, walk with wisdom.
This has been Walk with Wisdom with host Genevieve Wisdom. Tune in each week as Genevieve will present powerful guests who'll inspire you to make every step count. Whether you're walking your dog, tackling your morning run, or enjoying a quiet moment with your headphones, Walk with Wisdom is your companion for redefining what it means to age powerfully and intentionally. Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. Powered by B2 Studios. Take the first step with us, because wisdom isn't about what you've left behind. It's about everything that lies ahead.